I've established that I can make you laugh, I'm going to do something a little different. Toby mentioned this to me this afternoon, that he needed one more comedian, and I hadn't written anything new. So I put on Facebook subjects. What subjects do people want to make jokes about, right? And the ones I got was clingy men, Polish women, Malawian power cuts. I'm from Malawi, by the way. It's not like they randomly chose an African country. Bicycles, house moves, turnips, chewing with your mouth open, false teeth, and imperialism, okay? So we're going to try and do all of that. Take a seat, take a seat. Oh, no, sit fast. This is some crazy, heavy-duty, philosophical subjects I'm about to tackle. Okay, let's do this. Okay, let's do this. Okay, so hopefully it'll be funny, but if not, hey, you paid £2. Fuck it, okay? Here we go. So I'm going to start with clingy men, right? So when I was looking for information on clingy men, I just Googled it, and one of the first ones that came up was Elle Magazine, right? And it was a blog on Elle Magazine. And are you a fan of Elle Magazine? You just were like, I love it. Wow. Well, I was on Elle Magazine, and there was this woman explaining, this guy I was dating, he texted me 6 times in the same day. What a stalker. And I was like, that's not a fucking stalker, right? That's just a kind of sad guy, kind of maybe a little clingy. And actually they had on Elle Magazine, they had signs you may be dating a potential stalker, right? Right, it's important. And it was stuff like, he's all over your social media. He clicks on everything, right? He cancels plans with his friends to be with you, and he asks to move in with you the first month, okay? And I was like, look, that's kind of pathetic, kind of sad, maybe a little clingy, but that's not a fucking stalker, right? So for Elle Magazine, I present actual signs you may be dating a stalker as opposed to a clingy man, okay? Number 1, okay? He left you 6 messages on the phone. Clingy. But if the messages are heavy breathing, and then you may be dating a stalker. Okay? If he changes his picture on his phone, the wallpaper, to your face, just a little clingy. If in his house he has your face on a wall and a shrine around it, stalker. If he shows up at places where you might be hoping to run into you, maybe kind of clingy. If he already knows where you're gonna be, and if your schedule for the next 6 months is his mastermind specialist subject, stalker. And when the police find him in the bushes, he says, well, I've started, so I'll finish. Okay, clingy men, it worked. Good, next one. Polish women. Now, when I got this suggestion, I suspected this fan of mine on Facebook was horribly racist, some hardcore, but I did some research, and no, he's not. He was actually referring to something which happened this week. I don't know if you heard about it. It's a very inspiring story, right? So in Poland, right, the very sort of conservative government passed a law, right, making abortion illegal, right? And you could go up to jail for up to 5 years, right? And so loads of Polish women went on strike, right? And what I love is what they said was they weren't going to do any cooking, they weren't going to go to work, they weren't going to do any cleaning, and they weren't going to have sex with men until this law changed. It fucking changed, right? Yeah. And I was like, which one of those do you think convinced them? Huh? I don't think it was the cooking or the cleaning. I was like, we're not going to fuck. Okay, let's go and let's just change this. And what's brilliant is it's not the first time this has happened. There have been other cases. There was even a case in Colombia in 2006 where gang members, like the fucking hardest guys around, were persuaded by all of their partners. Their girlfriends said they're not going to have sex with them until they give in their weapons. And they handed in their weapons to the police. It's amazing. So inspiring. It also kind of made me feel better, because now I realize, My girlfriend, whenever she's saying like she doesn't want to sleep with me, it's not because she's not attracted to me. She's just very political. And she's just, protesting Black Lives Matter or something like that. Yeah, I feel much better. Now the next one is Malawian power cuts. For all you British people, you should know right now, Malawi, my home country right now, is having serious electricity issues, right? Like in the capital city, most houses are only having electricity for an average of 4 hours per day. That's shit, man. It also made me realize, no, it's really shit. Like if you only had electricity 4 hours a day, I think you'd have to be like a triage nurse. Right? You'd have to prioritize all the things which you do with electricity. And I was like making a list of the stuff. And I was like, what order would I put them? And I thought, okay, I guess I'd put cooking. I'd cook first, then I'd shower, use the internet, porn, right? But I was like, that's the order. You know what I mean? You'd cook, and then only if you'd had enough time, then you'd next go to the shower. But then I started thinking about ways you could replace it. And I was like, actually cooking, you could cook with a fire, right? So that doesn't have to be at the top, right? And then also showering, you could have a cold shower, right? And then I was like, porn, you could do like dirty shadow puppets, like kind of. But then I thought about it, it's like, if your hands are doing this, you have no hands for the, So actually, when I actually thought about the triage, watching porn has to be before cooking and showering. Okay, next. Bicycles! This one was hard. But I did some research, and we all know the Tour de France. And I found out, I was quite shocked by this in the modern, very liberal, enlightened age, that there's no women's Tour de France, right? And I was like, how sexist, how horrible, there's no women's Tour de France. And I thought about it, and I realized why it is, right? The organizers are just afraid that if you had women's Tour de France, all the women would end up on the same cycle. And fucking fall over. How could they go uphill? That's fucking funny. I don't care who you are. Okay. Next one. Next one is house moves. So also I did some research. I'll tell you this. These jokes were co-written by Wikipedia. Okay, right. So I was Googling and I was checking them into house moves, and they said it's very tragic. It was a sign of how the modern world is so different from how the good old days used to be, that nowadays, it said it's tragic that in Britain, the average person moves house 8 times in their life. Oh, 8 times in their life, how tragic. And the key reasons are usually leaving the parents, right? Or breakups or jobs. I was like, oh, how tragic. Now, the average Syrian family moves twice. And the key reasons are exploding patios and bullets. That's tragic. No, I think it's funny. Fuck it. Damn you, Karen, for that suggestion. Okay, no, okay. The next one is turnips. Turnips. Are you the big turnip fan? I never expected turnip of all the subjects to go, woohoo! Are you a big turnip fan? They're so tasty. Fucking turnips. I don't even know what turnip recipes. I actually Googled turnip recipes. I couldn't find any. How should I cook my turnips? Bubble and squeak. I don't even know. Is that a sexual move? What's bubble and squeak? You pop her bubble and she squeaks or something? No, what's bubble and squeak? I don't know bubble and squeak. What country is bubble and squeak from? Oh, it's British, so it can't taste good. Right. Come on, your food is shit, you know it. Oh, no. Oh, okay, I better do the last ones. Okay, well, anyway, this is it. Now, this is the interesting thing, right? Now, turnips. This is actually funnier than the stupid joke I wrote, so I should have just stuck with this. But anyway, let me just say, because I wrote it, right? Turnips, I didn't know this. Halloween's coming up. And they carve pumpkins? it's changed. Historically, they used to carve turnips first, right? And then they started doing pumpkins when someone realized that, it's easier to carve them and they make better faces. And I just felt sorry for the poor turnip. I mean, replaced. I mean, look, the turnip. Oh, yeah, the turnip doesn't make good faces. And the fucking pumpkin, pumpkin makes good faces, has a better job, better in bed. Oh, fuck, but fucking poor turnip is left all alone. Okay. Okay, three more. Okay, chewing with your mouth open. Now, this is an interesting thing. When I was a kid, that was the key thing which parents used to tell their kids at the table. It was the key complaint. Stop chewing with your mouth open. Stop chewing with your mouth open. And nowadays, what's interesting is that's no longer the number one thing that parents scold their kids. Now, the number one thing is no electronics at the table. Right? That's the big thing now, because they bring their iPads and stuff. And I was just thinking, wouldn't that have been cool if when I was a kid, that was also the number one thing? Because when I was a kid, it would have been like, hey, no electronics at the table. You can play with the vacuum cleaner after you eat your peas. I'm like, come on, Mom, come on, but I love it. It's my favorite. It's like, no, okay, if you're really good and you eat all your peas, the toaster. Okay, next one was false teeth, right? Now this one I found very interesting, right? Because psychology. I don't know if you know this. If you dream that you have your teeth falling out, yeah, have you had that dream? You have had that dream? Apparently, you are sexually frustrated. It doesn't make sense to me, really, but I'm like, what if I dream about sex? Does that mean I need to go to the dentist, right? And if I dream I have fake teeth, does that mean I want to have sex with a woman with fake tits? Fake, big issue. I don't know what I was referring to. Doesn't matter. It wasn't that funny. Doesn't matter. Okay. Next one, imperialism. You are all British. You're all British. And you had the British Empire. The thing that absolutely amazes me about the British Empire, even though they did all kinds of fucked up shit, the thing which is kind of admirable to me is England's tiny. You're tiny. If you look at the planet, it's tiny. How the fuck did you conquer like fucking most of Africa, like India, like Australia, like America? You're tiny. It's like if you went to a school, right? And there's just a bunch of kids, and there's one scrawny little geeky kid, and they're like, oh, that's the class bully right there. Oh, watch him. He's dangerous, man. He's dangerous. Another thing which is interesting about colonialism is it wasn't even started by the British government. They jumped onto it later. It was actually started by a company, the East India Company, who was like a trading company, who traded in silk. They went over to India, and they just took over shit. Right? A fucking company. That's like if Coca-Cola, right? We just found out next week that Coca-Cola has annexed North Wales. And the next week, Pepsi would take over South Wales. And they'll be telling us that the Welsh there are better, even though we can't tell the difference. That's fucking clever. I don't care who you are. Okay. Okay, and I will leave you, because I've overrun randomly, I'll leave you on a joke, which I did last time I was here, just about the fact that, yes, I talk about the British Empire and stuff like that. I actually had a very British education, even though I was in Africa. What was interesting is I went to a British school, and because we were a British colony, all the education was about England. I learned English, French, and Latin. I didn't learn Swahili or any African languages, right? I was in the middle of Africa. I learned about Henry VIII, right? I learned about William the Conqueror. I did not learn about Jomo Kenyatta or Nelson Mandela or anyone like that. It was all British, right? Then I came here. I moved here around 7 years ago. I got here, and I heard all these people saying, why do all these immigrants come to England? I'm like, you fucking spent decades telling us it's the greatest place in the world. You taught us your fucking language. You taught us about William the Conqueror. Where the fuck do you think I was going to go? Thank you so much. Peace.